G'day everybody, Farmer Wade here for Billboard Battalion. Today we're coming to you live from downtown Koyuga in north central Victoria. So as people know, Billboard Battalion has spent a lot of time just recently up in Canberra with all the politicians and the sitting of Parliament and all that kind of thing, simply because that's where things are happening and that's where we need to go if we're going to try and influence anything, and we're going to find out what is happening. So that's been successful in finding out what's happening, and we're putting a lot of time and effort into trying to get people to, the old term, wake up. One of the main demographics that we're trying to get to wake up is our farming sector. So this is a video, if you're a farmer, this is for you. This is also for all Australians, because it is so important, it involves everybody. But let's have a look at our farmers. So right now, you're going to have cockies who are sitting on headers, they're sitting on tractors, they're sitting in trucks, they're in stockyards, they've got everything going on. We're coming up to harvest time, they're in the shed servicing gear, getting stuff ready. So this is for you. This is specifically for you. And this is a situation report as to where we're up to and what's happening, and things about, well, your future, in fact, and your very, very short future. I guarantee that, if we can't do something about it. And the most important part of doing something about it is we need people to actually listen. And when we say we're talking about their future, we mean in the next few years. So things have happened in Canberra just recently that we're going to talk about today. So first of all, I wanted to talk about our National Farmers Federation. Now, the head office of the NFF is in Canberra. We've been to see them a few months ago. Tried to talk to the president at the time, David Joe Hinkie. I actually spoke to David Joe Hinkie back in Beef Week in Rockhampton, Queensland, around about 18 months ago. And the last thing that you can get any of these people to do is listen. They do not want to hear. And when you tell them the things that are happening, they are so objectionable to understanding or wanting to engage in that conversation. So the question, of course, is why? And are the things that I'm talking about that serious that we should have our leaders listening? Well, I'm telling you, hell yes, absolutely. Because as you're about to see and how they're going to do it, it doesn't matter how big you are, how much land or farm or how much money you've got, everything is at risk right now. So just recently, the National Farmers Federation has elected a new president. That's a bloke by the name of Hamish McIntyre. He's a cotton farmer. So there's all sorts of the different commodity groups that people came to be the president. So I'm just wanted to talk to Hamish and actually do an interview with him. And originally on the phone he said, yeah, that's no worries, Wade, we'll do an interview for sure. And I said, I realise you're just new to the job, and we just want to sort of break things in, get a relationship happening so that we can talk about the very, very serious things that are going on. So I can tell you, whatever the National Farmers Federation is talking about now with all their so-called campaigns or whatever, they're not important compared to the things we're going to be talking about. They don't mean anything. And a big part of the problem with the National Farmers Federation too is its structure, the way it's set up. I think that unless the leadership take a leadership role and actually say something of importance, they've got so many committees and different groups and so on, the thing is basically impotent. I mean, I think it's set up so it can't actually do anything, which is what the politicians want. So I wanted to talk to Hamish, wanted to do an interview, and ended up over a series of trying to catch up. One of his staff called me yesterday and we had a bit of a short discussion, and we're rehashing a lot of the stuff that I've been going crook at him for years and years. But now we're getting to the pointy end of the stick, so to speak. This is now situation critical. So I wanted to have a look here, and over the many years now, in my opinion, and particular the past presidents and so on, they've turned the National Farmers Federation into nothing more than a sales pitch for the government and for the WHO. And why would I mention the WHO? Well, that's interesting, and that'll come up in a second. They talk, and under Fiona Simpson, under David Johinke, this is all they went on about. I mean, they obviously touched on other things, but they pushed this climate change crap from pillar to post. They went overseas. They got involved in all the COP29 and those kind of events overseas every year. And as my opinion, and this is all my opinion, you know, you're free to think what you want, but in my opinion, their whole plan was to sell the WHO climate change, the whole climate change policy. That's what they're about. And when you look on their website, which we were advised to do yesterday, if you ask me, it's nothing more than a sales pitch for the government and for the WHO. You know, we've got a lot that's going on, and the main things are, of course, climate change, the disease, Centre for Disease Control, and the other one, of course, that we're going to be very, very seriously impacted in is the Biosecurity Act 2015. So I don't know, and I suppose the question will be asked, why is it that the National Farmers Federation, in my opinion, is nothing more than a bureaucratic sales department for the government? So I think we need to ask, where does the National Farmers Federation get their funding? Is there any funding from government or any of the bodies that sell the climate change stuff or sell the biosecurity stuff or sell the disease control stuff? Do they get funding from there, sponsorship? You know, what the hell's going on? So today, people, is Thursday the 13th of November 2025, and we're only less than 2 weeks away from when the Federal Parliament sits again, and I think we're going to see some very, very serious, disastrous things happen in that sitting. Now, let me tell you about one of the disastrous things that happened last sitting. And, you know, a lot of the people who watch the stuff I do sit there and go, oh, you know, don't worry about Wade. He's just a conspiracy theorist, you know. He's just you know, spreading alarm, nothing to what he's saying, blah, blah, blah. So I would say to those half-wits that we're not talking about theories. We're talking about facts. And are these facts going to impact you, your business, your farm? You better believe it. Yes, it is. Does this have the capacity and the intention to wipe out you and your farm? Absolutely. And I want you to keep in mind the two elements of crime are, number one, motive, number two, opportunity. So, you know, as firefighters, the elements of fire are fuel, heat, and oxygen. That's what makes fire. And when it comes to crime, we've got the people that we're talking about here, we've got motive, and we've got opportunity. When those two combine, you can get crime. And that is exactly what we've got right here and now. And I'm saying that because the World Health Organization, they are the criminals amongst a whole other heap of people who are supporting them. But the World Health Organization intends to destroy your lives, your farming, your life, and actually human life, and end it. Now, they are the criminals, and that's their motive. Now, the opportunity to fulfill those crimes are now being provided by your federal government, your state governments, and I believe many people like these ones here. Because we've got a whole heap of other farmer representative lobby groups who are equally as hopeless and useless, and such levels of arrogance that you could not believe. They think they're bomb-proof. They think they've got everything, that they're the rulers of the world. So let's have a bit of a look at where we go from. It's not a theory. Here are the facts. And I'll draw your attention to this document right here. And what this document right here is, this is the bill that was just passed in the federal upper house last Wednesday week, 8 days ago. And we were there and we physically saw this be passed. Now this bill here will take effect on the 1st of January 2026. And I'm here to tell you this is bad news for farmers, a whole heap of others, but for farmers. So this is the Australian Centre for Disease Control Bill 2025. This now has been voted on, and once it has royal assent will become legislation. Now this horror story here, 70 odd sections here, I can tell you now that all these parts where I've marked are so dangerous. And what this basically does is this gives rise to the creation of a government entity, and that government entity takes control over an enormous amount of things. And it has the power to order, command, instruct everything to do with our health policy. And this is in the event of some new emergency, some new pandemic, some climate change. The terrible farmers, we've got to get rid of the farmers. This bill here has enormous power to get rid of farmers. And in part of it, it talks about the Department of Agriculture and the Minister for Agriculture. Why do you think they would have that in there? I'll tell you why. Because the Department of Agriculture is one of the things that's going to be affected and controlled by this. And this is going to be in conjunction with the bill that I expect to be put before the upper house next sitting, which is the National Environmental Protection Agency bill. Now, that bill takes absolute control of so much. And there's parts of these bills here where they become the law over and above anything else. So if you get the boss who's running this, then they can do absolutely anything. There's nothing you can do about it. And the environmental bill, that talks about things that the minister can do that are in the national interest. Now, that's going to trump anything else. So if you've got something happening to your farm that you want to try and do something about, forget it. It's over. The minister can come along and say, in the national interest, we're just going to do it. You have no rights. If you try and stop us, you will be arrested, shot, carted off to jail, lose your entire property, have fines in the hundreds of millions of dollars. So for all the dumb, really stupid people who think they're so rich and powerful, I've spoken to quite a number of beef breeders up in Northern Australia. They've got, probably 100 million, 200 million. Well, the fines that under this new act, the NEPA, the National Environmental Protection Agency Act, if you're a company and you do something against what they say is against the environment, now you just have a think for a second how wide a scope that is. You can face fines up to $850 million. Now these people are serious in getting you out of your business, sending you broke. And we've got generational farmers all over Australia, but particularly up north in the big country up there, who are so arrogant and so stupid that they think they are the very, very top of the tree. There's no one can touch them. And they think, and I know many of these people, I've spoken to them, and they'll tell you, oh, I know the Minister for Agriculture, I know the Minister for Climate Change, I know the Minister for some other crap. My relatives are so-and-so, such and such. So, a part of all this has in it sections where this the Centre for Disease Control can make arrangements with international bodies. Don't have to be government bodies, international government bodies. So what that means, and I'll tell you straight for the ones who are just not switched on and don't want to know. The Australian Centre for Disease Control, which takes control over half of the country and your place, now will become under the direction of the World Health Organization, which is an international organization. That says it in here. So therefore, for all the stupid people who think that they've got friends in the government and they've got friends and all that sort of thing, this completely bypasses the Australian government. What's happened here is they have given absolute power to the WHO under the international health regulations, and the WHO now own your country. The Australian federal government is basically defunct. Their last role is to give the last bit of power through the Environmental Protection Agency Act to the World Health Organization. So everything that they do, anything other than this stuff, is meaningless. We've got them arguing and squabbling and carry on like idiots now over so many different things. Well, I'm telling you now, that is a sideshow. Because your property, your business, your farm, and your life just got handed over to a bunch of people in the World Health Organization who want to kill you. That is literally the case. So everybody who's so busy, and we've been on about this for quite a number of years. So everybody who's so busy, I'm just so busy. We're harvesting, we're lambing, we've got cows calving, we're putting crop in, it's sowing time now, we're so busy we can't talk to you. We're so busy we can't take any notice of these things here. Where you're about to have huge amounts of time on your hand because you're not going to have your properties. The things that they are going to do here, it does not matter how rich you are, or how arrogant and stupid you are, or how secure you believe you are. It's game over for you. And you will deserve it. Because when we're trying to ring the bell with everywhere, with this mob here, with farmers all over the countryside, who just don't want to know, then you deserve what's coming. No problem about that. And I will say that, I'm trying to deal with the Victorian Farmers Federation. They're not taking this stuff seriously at all. Ran into Xavier Martin, the head of the New South Wales Farmers, whatever it is, up in Gunnedah. Never come across, in my opinion, such an arrogant upstart in all my life. But when he crashes, we're not going to laugh about it, but we're going to say, that's karma, mate. Absolute karma. And the thing is, these organisations are taking money from members to do what? This is catastrophic stuff that's going to crush them, and they're not even saying a word to them. They're taking money off these people. West Australian farmers, where are they? I've spoken to plenty of them. West Australian Pastorals and Graziers Association. We're going to try and talk to the Vice President of the National Farmers Federation over in Western Australia, because this stuff is here and now. It is here and now. And I think we've got a special little message for all the cattle breeders all across Australia, but particularly the big ones up in the high country up the top there, who think they're so arrogant and they're so powerful that nothing can touch them. Well, I'm telling you, your whole world is going to come crashing down. And we have maybe this much opportunity to try and stop it. Let's have a look at the next thing we've got prepared. Now, what is some of the things that I've found around the world that is exactly in the vein of what I'm talking to you right now. So, the climate change policy legislation, the biosecurity legislation, and the Centre for Disease Control legislation. That sort of stuff combined is what this is all about. And this is not even the tip of the iceberg. What's happening around the world to farmers. So I want to have a look here at the Netherlands. Now, most of our farmers who are watching this probably wouldn't have a clue what the hell I'm talking about. You may have missed that in Europe recently, massive, enormous farmer protests, shutting down entire cities with tractors, entire motorways, chock-a-block full of tractors. Probably looks like thousands of them. But is anybody taking any notice of this? So the Netherlands, to conform to their Paris Agreement net zero crap, their government there has committed to shutting down 3,000 farms. Now, Netherlands were one of the biggest exporters of food in the world. 3,000 farms. Just shut them down to do with this Paris Agreement, this climate change stuff. That's climate change. England. Now, these are brief. These are just very brief for the point of the discussion. So, taxation laws in England, right? The English farmers now are screaming blue murder because of what the government and the governments around the world, they are terrorist organisations. In England, Starmer. Here we've got Albanese and also the coalition. Every bit's bad. So one of the things they're doing in England is paying farmers to stop growing food. Can you believe that? That is literally what is happening. They are paying farmers in England to shut down food production. And I don't know how many people watching this actually know that. But if you don't know that, why the hell don't you? You've got all these farm advisors, bank managers, accountants, agronomists, the like of Elders, the likes of Nutrient Ags. These are international companies. How come you don't know any of this stuff? And how come the National Farmers Federation don't tell you? And your state-based bodies don't tell you? Let's have a look at Ireland. A part of their commitment to get to net zero, they have to slaughter, they have to kill 200,000 head of cattle to get their crap BS lies of carbon emissions down. The entire climate change thing is a complete fraud. It is a hoax. And why was it invented? Because the World Health Organization, the United Nations and the World Economic Forum want you dead and gone. And they created that 30 years ago to terrify the hell out of everybody so that they can do all this sort of stuff to get rid of net zero, to get rid of carbon. That's what it was for. That was what it was invented for. It's a total fraud. And I always make a point of saying there's a group called Farmers for Climate Action. Well, I believe, in my opinion, they're idiots. Because they are actually farmers for no more farmers. They want to get rid of the very thing that keeps them alive. Like, go figure. We look at Denmark. Now, we just did an interview with a bloke a couple of days ago from Denmark. And one of the big things that they want to talk about coming to Australia to get down your methane emissions from your cattle. Hello, industry. Switched on at all? Are you awake at all? Is there anything going on up here? Now, the reports from Denmark, from the bloke that I did the report from yesterday, a couple of days ago, and over much of Europe now, the Danish government, as a part of their climate change, getting to net zero crap, they are forcing their farmers to put into the feed the additive which is called overreach. Now, we've heard all this great stuff about it's going to reduce rumen and methane production. Well, what it's actually doing is killing their cows. So the government is forcing them to give this crap to their cattle, and it's killing them. They're getting sick, and then they're dying. And we will have an interview up on Billboard Battalion very soon about that very interview. We've already got some of the interviews up about stuff I'm talking about here, if you actually care to listen or look, or you care about having a future, which clearly you don't. So, and these people are going to oblige you if you don't want a future, you don't want a farm, and you don't want to stay alive. These people are organising, not them, but the WHO and your governments, and most of the politicians in it are organising right now for that to happen. And they can do it because you are not doing a damn thing about it, not interested, don't care until it crashes through your front door. So, this stuff here, the bloke who I was talking to gave us terrible accounts of what's happening to their cattle and what's happening to the calves. So, I can tell you right now, under the Environmental Protection Act, that they're putting through Parliament very soon, a part of this is going to say the World Health Organization says that under climate change, every cow in Australia is going to have to be given Bovair. And that's going to kill them. So for all these stupid people who have all these millions of dollars and massive great heads of cattle, you're not going to have them for much longer, and this is how they're going to do it. This is just one of the ways they're going to do it. Now, this mob here, National Farmers Federation or your other farmer groups or elders or any of the rest of them, are they telling you any of this stuff? Because as I said just before, this is the legislation. This is not a drill. This is not a joke. If these people here and the rest of them are not telling you this, why the hell not? Because here is government legislation. It was voted in the upper house. We watched it. 34 votes in favour to 22 against. It was passed. So this is now your law. This is what you are going to have to fight against to try and survive. Because you didn't want to know about it. These people here who I've been telling literally for years, many of the other farmer groups I've been telling about for decades, do not want to know about it. Well, here is the legislation. That's it. That's what's going to end your farm. And the National Party and the Liberal Party, they know everything I'm talking about here. As do the Greens, the Independents and the Labor Party. Now let's have a look at Canada. Canada is an interesting one. We're trying to pick different things from around the world to give it a bit of variety. So in Canada, there's a farm there that had 400 ostriches. Now some of these things are 35 years old. They're massive, foot taller than me. And some of these ostriches, about a year ago, got H5N1 bird flu. Now this is under the biosecurity. We're dealing with climate change, biosecurity, and then back to climate change. These ostriches were they were rounded up by Canadian Food Inspection Agency under the guard of the Canadian Royal Mounted Police, armed police, hundreds of them, to stop the owners of the farm from stopping them and all their supporters. So these birds here were eventually shot, massacred. 1,000-odd gunshots they counted just in one night of them shooting these things. There's only 300 of them. So you can imagine what it was like. Now, the most important thing to keep in mind here is that these ostriches had H5N1 bird flu. Some of them died about a year ago. The rest of them survived. So, therefore, the scientists are saying those ostriches had created antibodies to fight H5N1. They had natural immunity. And there were some scientists who were wanting the eggs from these birds so they could create a vaccine, a natural vaccine against H5N1. Now the government shut it all down. The Canadian government the Canadian Food Inspection Agency with the Canadian mounted drongo, half-wit, pathetic scumbag mounted police, lowlifes that they are. They attacked the family. They took over the next door neighbour's farm, commandeered that, and then went about terrorising these people for months. They attacked them, they terrorised them, and this is what they're about. This is how the WHO and the governments who work for them are going to work. We're going to see our own police used against the people of the country. That's part of the plan. But these ostriches, it seems very, very strange that under biosecurity, that the Canadian Food Inspection Agency shot all these birds. And for the cameras, they were walking around in there with all the hazmat suits and the rest of it like that. All the white suits, blah, blah, blah. However, in the area where these things were housed for quite a long time, after they were all killed, they brought in trucks with bins on, loaded up a lot of these bodies into these trucks with bins. It was wet and muddy. Some of them were getting bogged, so they had chains on the trucks. Or a lot of the police cars or the CFIA cars, they were just driving in around this area, the contaminated area. Keep in mind, it's a biohazard, biosecurity issue. That's why they had to kill these ostriches. And then driving out on the road, going to local tips, rendering plants, and God knows where else in Canada, with all the mud and stuff that was all over the ground in these pens, just spreading it everywhere. So very, very, very clearly, they are not concerned about a biosecurity hazard. You would never, ever, ever do that. If you actually believe there was a biosecurity hazard, you would never, ever do that. So they know that there was no biosecurity hazard, but they had court orders, and I'm telling you right now, the courts of the land are now corrupt. They are on the same page with the WHO. They answer to them. They don't answer to law or what's right or anything else. They have whatever the WHO wants, they get. That's how it works. So these ostriches, they were murdered. They were killed for something else. I think, number one, to create terror among farmers, to see what the WHO and your police under their command are prepared to do. How much they're prepared to attack our farmers and destroy them. Mentally, emotionally, physically, economically, the whole lot. So, what's happened to the eggs? They're gone. These eggs quite probably contained some sort of a vaccine for H5N1. This is a worldwide bird flu, and they had the opportunity there to cure it. They don't want it cured. They want disaster. They want diseases that they can then go after you and everybody else. And another little bit of a fun fact. And we interviewed Katie Persitney from Edgewood in British Columbia in Canada about this. Now, as I understand it, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency supposedly did some sort of tests, but they would never show anybody the results. Katie Persitney and her team were told that if they did their own testing of these birds to see if they had this H5N1, if they were sick, and we all know now you get a thing shoved up someone's nose, there's the test. So if Katie Persitney got vets or scientists to do a test, and I'm assuming it's probably a blood test, on these birds, take a bit of blood and put it in a lab and test it, they could face fines in excess of, if memory serves me correctly, $200,000. Now, why would that be? So you'd think they'd want testing, because that would prove that these birds were immune, that they were not sick with H5N1. So there's a whole story we can talk about with that, and a lot of it's on Billboard Battalion. We'll be interviewing Katie again very soon. The point being, they use this stuff here to attack farmers, to destroy stock, to destroy you. And we haven't started even talking about grain farmers yet. That's another story for another day. But we look at here in Australia, and this is happening a lot all over the world. Under supposed varroa mite infestations, they're killing bees. Killing bees everywhere. Hives, entire hives that the beekeepers are saying they don't have any disease. And they just killed them anyway. And this is important, because these authorised officers come in with police and they just attack you, destroy your herds or your flocks or whatever it is you've got, and they don't have to prove anything. They are a law unto themselves, and because that's what the WHO wants, they want to shut down your food supply, everything that humans need to eat, and also any animal that is their pets, or comfort animals or something, your dogs, cats, horses, whatever you've got. These people want to kill it, because that demoralises and attacks you. So another thing that we've got going on in southeast Queensland here, supposedly under biosecurity, fire ants. They're supposedly trying to be baiting and poisoning these fire ants. Now, the first thing to understand, there are other methods of steam injection into the ant nests that kill them. But the government have banned that. They say they want to use poison baits. And they're dropping these baits with helicopters all over the place. All over people's roofs. Poison baits in their roof, dropping in their water tanks. Going in all the streams. Going onto farms that are classified organic. Spreading baits and poisons all over everything. And the Queensland police, those useless looking scumbags, are up there with guns to help them enforce it. There've been people being arrested, and I say to all the police forces around the world, get it up here, mates. Get it in your brain. They're using you to attack your people. And at some point, they're going to come after your kids, your family, and you're helping them to do it. So you need to have a little bit of a reassessment of a few things. The Murray-Darling Basin Plan here in Australia destroyed enormous amounts of farmers, made them unviable, took huge amounts of Australia's precious fresh water for growing food, and they have run it out down the Murray River out into the Southern Ocean. So they're taking our precious water out of our dams that we need to grow food, and they're running it into the ocean. Now, if you can get your head around that. And that, again, is under the heading of climate change. So you see here, and the renewable energy infrastructure, power shortages across farmland across the world, and here in particular in Australia. This push to this so-called renewables, it is a fraud, right? The whole renewable energy crap is a fraud. But they're doing that because that attacks more and more and more farmers. And for the people who are watching this, under the act that I showed you there, under the Act for the Environmental Protection Agency Act, you're going to have no defence. There is no defence. There is no higher authority. These people will take authority over and above any other law in our country, over and above the Constitution. And your government has handed it to them, and they could only do that because you didn't do anything to fight it. You didn't want to know. Well, this is what it's about. This is about shutting down your farm, your ability to grow food, your business. Because the renewable energy infrastructure, I know a lot of protesters who are protesting against this stuff, particularly on farmland. And also up in Queensland, we've got all the old growth forests there. They're just dynamiting the top off mountain ranges, flattening them with bulldozers. They're killing species. They're just murdering koala bears everywhere. And at the minute, people are protesting about that. But very soon, you're not going to be able to, because the thing has a clause in it that comes under the heading of in the national interest. So in the national interest, the minister can override absolutely everything. And if you think you're going to protest against it, you're not. That has a very, very short lifespan. Because what's going to happen is they will make it illegal to do anything at all that even speaks against their strategies to fix climate change. If you speak about it, let alone think you're going to turn up somewhere and stop them, or think that you're going to block access to your farms, or you're going to go and stop them moving machinery in, or you're going to take them to some sort of a court. No, you're not. And all this has happened on your watch. And all this has happened, they tell you, right in your face, right here, they tell you what they're doing. But still people are that arrogant, money hungry, that they don't want to understand it. And we've seen thousands of farmers being sent broke, and they're out of the industry, they're gone already, because of lots of this stuff. So the question is, what do you do about it? So I would suggest to you that whatever you're doing, you stop. And you start to take notice of this. And we get on to them, the National Farmers Federation. Hammer them and say, we want to see Hamish McIntyre do a live interview with Wade Northausen from Billboard Battalion. Because I want you to see the people who run the National Farmers Federation. And although old Hamish might have only been new, he's put his hand up for the job. A little bit of grace to ease into it, that's fine, I get that. But I suspect Hamish will be running a very, very expensive farming operation in the cotton growing areas. If he's been put up for this job, he's obviously no mug. He's obviously fairly rich, has a lot of clout and a lot of push and pull. So that's what I reckon we should be doing. Get on to the National Farmers Federation, find their website, their phone number, and ring this lot up and go, what the hell do you think you're doing? Why haven't you been telling us about this stuff? Because your parliament's setting you up right now to be gone, finished, over and done with. So you should be making some calls here. And don't listen to whatever crap they tell you about, oh, well, look, you know, we've got this on our website, and, oh, well, you know, we can only do so much. No, there's big problems. And these people, I don't know how much money that they get out of the agricultural sector. I imagine to be millions to supposedly represent the agricultural sector. So that's some of the things we need to do. And you also need to start hammering your state farm organisation, whatever it is. And we need to see people getting on to the likes of the elders, the likes of the nutrient ags, your accountants, your agronomists, your business advisors, anyone else you're in business with who advises you, and say, what's going on with this great reset? That's what all this is under the heading of. The World Economic Forum Great Reset. You want to be asking them that. Tell them to get on to me and be prepared to do an interview. Hamish McIntyre, where are you? I know you're on the road. Big deal. The entire agricultural sector is crashing and burning. Most of the people don't even realise it yet, which just goes to show you how brilliant the WHO is and how smart your politicians are. Because your politicians, including the Nationals and the Liberals and the Labor Party and the Greens, they've helped them to set all this up and build it. And they did it in such a way that they didn't tell you. There's politicians all over Australia that are involved with all sorts of different groups and industries and people and so on, and they haven't told you. They haven't said a word. We're going to be talking about these politicians very, very soon. Righto, good people. I think that that's enough to understand why you're sitting on a tractor. You've got plenty of time to watch this, sitting in a header, in a truck, sitting at the silos, just waiting. You've got plenty of time to watch this. Share it to all your mates, your families, your friends. Share it to the people down the pub, in the footy club, the cricket club, to your real estate agents, to your stock and station agents, to everybody who's in business with you, your accountants, your bank managers, and go, what is this? Because I've spoken to quite a lot of them and they go, what? I've got no idea what you're talking about. These people advise you in your business. They're paid millions and millions of dollars and they've got no idea this even exists. Well, they tell you they don't. But at the very high levels of all the banks and all the stock and station agents, well, most of them, the big ones anyway, the people who own them or part own them are the World Economic Forum members. They are the people who run the WHO. Righto, people, that's it. We've got to head off over to do some interviews over in the Mallee now, Wimmera. So we'll be catching up with some people across there. And yeah, if you want to have a farming business left at all, you need to get this stuff going, spread it around as much as possible, and then get onto Billboard Battalion and find out what you can do to help us. Because we've been doing this for years and years and years. We've got people who've got millions and millions of dollars who wouldn't chuck us 2 cents. And they're going to lose it all. And I can't say I feel any, they don't want to help us. They want to support the people who are actually wiping them out, which is pretty funny. They're actually supporting the politicians and they're supporting the climate change terror campaign. They're supporting the people and the things, in many cases financially, that are going to wipe them out. And at the end of the day, you get what you deserve. Like they say, you get the government you deserve. Alright people, on those words, we'll get rocking. And happy harvesting. Happy whatever it is you're doing. Hope you're having a good time. Because you're not going to be for much longer. Unless you help us. Because this is going to take a massive shift now to fix this. That's if we can. Farmer Wade for Billboard Battalion. We'll catch up another day. See ya.